Hi, my name's Tim Farrow, and I teach age reversal. I teach people how to actually reverse the aging process. And of course, most people don't believe this is possible. If you ask your doctor about it, he'll probably tell you, if he's even hip enough to say, you can slow the aging process down by eating better, exercising, etc., stress reduction. You might even mention meditation, because there's been a lot written about how meditation lowers stress and cortisol levels and whatnot. But most people don't believe age reversal is possible. But of course, belief doesn't count for anything. Experience is what counts. And without experience, belief doesn't count. When you have experience, you don't need belief. So I have worked with people over the years to reverse the aging process and had a lot of fun doing it. It's so wonderful to watch people transform before my eyes. And I've found that a few little tweaks in your lifestyle make all the difference. So I wrote a book about this subject. It's called The Never Ending Buzz. Wrote it over the last couple of years. It talks about some of these case histories, and the introduction, which is free to read, the whole introduction is free to read on my website, neverendingbuzz.com. And in the introduction, I tell the story of my dietary evolution, how I came to this, and how I've been experiencing this. So to give you a little introduction about me, let me tell you a little bit about how I came to all this knowledge and experience. In 1973, at age 18, I quit eating meat just to be a little rebel, just to be different. I like the idea of not killing, and I like being different. I was a little hippie, and any way I could be different and be against the establishment was a cool thing. So I noticed a huge difference when I quit eating meat. It was night and day. My energy level was just off the charts. My mental clarity, even though I was smoking weed and doing different drugs that kids did back then, I felt amazing. And people were telling me, you're going to be anemic and you're not going to get enough protein and blah, blah, blah. And I was not experiencing any of that. I was feeling incredible. And the more active you are, the more you can tell the difference. I was racing motocross. I was playing the drums, getting seriously into backpacking, running. So I could tell immediately the difference was so dramatic. And it made so much difference that I wanted to learn more. What else that they're telling me I have to have is actually bad for me? Well, turns out you can add dairy to that list. And so, of course, I quit the dairy and felt another dramatic difference. Started reading everything I could on the subject. Found out starch, wheat especially, bread and all that, just clogs up the machine, and it's virtually impossible to maintain a healthy weight when you're eating grains. So I quit those. And then I got a little booklet about raw foods, which said that man is the only animal that cooks his food. And when you do that, you destroy all the life force, the enzymes, the probiotics, all the vitamin C, the B vitamins are all destroyed by heat. So I thought, okay, that makes sense. Let's go raw. So I went raw and started doing colonics in 1976, enemas, started cleansing, and was feeling amazing. At age 19, I backpacked the length of California on the Pacific Crest Trail, turned 20 on the trail, and was just feeling amazing. Now, at age 61, I'm actually in better shape than I was then. I have way more muscle, been weight training for about 10 years now, seriously. And it's just getting better and better. Meanwhile, my friends who are my age are not doing this, and they're aging before my eyes really fast. You might have friends you don't see for 6 months or so. Next time you see them, they've got, twice the chin, or they're sagging jaws. It happens so fast. 40 seems to be the cutoff age. It starts to really change at age 40. You stop getting it all for free. Sometimes a lot earlier than that, but definitely by 40 you're feeling it. Between 40 and 50, the aging process accelerates dramatically. So between 40 and 50, a huge difference in the way people feel is noticed. And of course, between 50 and 60, most people by the time they're 60, they're pretty well done. And you know, it's a shame because we work so hard all our lives to, you know, have a nice retirement. You know, the kids are grown and you have some freedom, but then of course the body starts to wear out. And my best friend growing up is dead now. Killed himself at 58 by just drinking and smoking and doing what he wanted to do. So it's a shame. He was the most talented person I've ever known. Incredible artist, musician, singer, songwriter. But now that voice has been silenced just because he used his body for a cheap source of entertainment. We think that these substances, these foods, non-foods really, are going to give us happiness. What a crazy concept. Why do people think that? Well, because the media tells you this. Open happiness. Everybody's heard that, right? Coca-Cola's slogan. Think about that. Open happiness. They're telling you that if you open a Coke, you open happiness. Whatever we do in this life, we do because we think it's going to give us happiness. Everything from having kids to your job to picking a mate, whatever we do, we think it's going to give us happiness or we wouldn't do it. That's why we're here, to find happiness. So when somebody holds something up and says this will make you happy, even if you intellectually reject this, because you can see through it, your subconscious picks this up and then you hear it again. Almond Joy says unwrap paradise. Taco Bell says live más, live more by eating Taco Bell. It's like these messages come thick and fast everywhere you look. So we equate happiness and joy and fun and entertainment with these foods. But it's a really bad source of entertainment. It's a drug at that point. You're looking for a drug effect. You're looking for a buzz. You're looking for the feel, the taste. It's a drug at that point. So it's food as drug. But it's a pitiful drug because it's over in 5 minutes, you know, maybe 10 minutes. You're done with the enjoyment. So, you know, if you do any other kind of drug, you get a longer buzz. It's a little more bang for your buck. So food offers a lot of pleasure, but it gives so very little. And the heart of age reversal is certain foods age you at an accelerated rate. And they're basically meat, dairy, eggs, fish, wheat, and soy. If you can stop those foods, and of course fried foods, foods cooked at high temperature, and it goes without saying sugar, then you can reverse the aging process because these foods are what's aging you. If you stop putting this stuff in your body, you will stop the aging process almost completely. And if aging has already occurred, which it probably has, unless you're young, even if you're young, you will reverse the aging process. Now, undoing some of the damage these foods have caused is actually a really good thing too. So cleansing, detoxification, you know, we've all heard the word detoxification. It's become really a buzzword these days. People intuitively know they're toxic. But detoxification does happen as you stop this stuff. You can help your body along the way to detoxing by doing things like enemas, colonics, certain herbs that help you go more. So your body has 3 ways of detoxing: pooping, peeing, and sweating, basically. Some comes out through your breath, through your skin, or hadn't you noticed? But mostly pooping, peeing, and sweating. So pooping really gives you the most bang for your buck. So any way you can increase that is going to be a good thing. So I'm a huge believer in enemas. And when you change your diet, a lot of times you feel good for about 3 weeks. 3 weeks seems to be sort of a cutoff number. Things that you do that are helpful take about 3 weeks for you to really feel. And sometimes when you fall off the wagon, you go about 3 weeks, you're going to start really feeling bad, much more than you did the night after you ate that stuff. So people usually feel good for about 3 weeks, and oftentimes they crash and burn after that. They start feeling bad because they're detoxing. Just by stopping eating something like meat can put your body into detox mode. And you start feeling low energy, lethargic, tired, irritable, and people go, oh yeah, well you can't live on that rabbit food. You got to eat some real food. So you eat some meat, and it stops that process, and you feel better. You go, yeah, I can't eat that stuff. It didn't have enough protein. Well, that's not what it was, but you did feel better when you stopped that detoxing process, because detoxing is a two-stage process whereby you loosen up the toxins from their hiding places. You take them out of suspension and put them into circulation. So now they're in your bloodstream, in your lymphatic system, which is your body's other circulatory system that is associated with getting rid of waste products. So you can feel bad if you don't keep pace with the detoxing. You got to get them out of the body as well as out of their hiding places. So the miracles happen when you stop completely these 6 foods. Cutting down on them won't really do it. Cutting down is certainly better than eating all you want. But the magic happens when you stop completely, when you get these out of your body. And we have this idea, all things in moderation, the famous quote. Who said that? Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin was an incredible visionary, but he wasn't the picture of health. So I don't think I'm going to listen to him when he says that. There's other quotes. One of them I really like from a doctor named Joel Fuhrman. He says, moderation kills. And yeah, that's true. Moderation kills, certainly. Are you going to do a little bit of crack, a little bit of crystal meth, smoke a few cigarettes? All things in moderation? No. If it's poison, keep it away. And the meat, especially these days, oh my God, it's so full of toxins. Even the wild-caught, free-range, grass-fed, these things are full of toxins. Animals have evolved no mechanism to get rid of environmental toxins. We haven't had them in the environment long enough to need to evolve a defense to get rid of these. So there isn't one. Which means when you eat a piece of meat, you eat virtually all the toxins that animal ever got. And it got a lot. And since animals have evolved no mechanism to get rid of this stuff, they don't. They keep it. And of course, you do too. So now you're the proud owner of all the toxins that animal ever received in its life. And you're going to keep them for your whole life unless you can get rid of them. Joel Fuhrman, who I just mentioned, one of the better MDs who's writing books these days, or one of the ones that seems to have it more figured out than most. It's interesting, the second chapter of my book is called Doctors Duel, You Win, because a lot of doctors are writing books now. It used to be MDs were like the antithesis of nutritional knowledge, but now they're starting to write books like William Davis, MD, who wrote Wheat Belly, who it's a whole book about how bad wheat is for you and how wheat single-handedly causes diabetes or metabolic syndrome. When you have this, calorie in, calorie out doesn't work anymore because you've trained your body to become a fat-storing machine. It's a fascinating book. But he also advocates eating meat and dairy as a substitute for wheat. You got to eat something, right? But of course, we don't want to do that. Joel Fuhrman, on the other hand, takes the opposite tack, saying dairy, meat, those are the enemy. Wheat's not so bad as long as you're not overweight. So they're all kind of seem to be missing a little something. But Joel Fuhrman makes the point that you could go to the Great Lakes and drink the Great Lakes water, this polluted lake water, for 100 years and not get the concentration of toxins you would get from eating 1 pound of fish from these lakes. That's how toxic this stuff is these days. And of course, fish live in the ocean, fish live in lakes, and they're all polluted. There's plastic particles now in ocean water everywhere. They take samples from ocean water virtually anywhere in the world, and you'll find more plastic particles than plankton. Plankton is this microscopic zooplankton and phytoplankton, microscopic animals or plants that's at the base of the food chain. Now plastic particles have replaced that at the base of the food chain. So we just can't eat this stuff anymore and expect to live a healthy life. It's aging you at an incredible rate. And when you stop, magic happens, miracles happen. And of course, it'll save the planet. If, of course, we're not going to save the planet because we can't destroy the planet. The planet doesn't care what we do. We can take ourselves out of the equation, no problem. The planet will just evolve all as it has. But why would we want to do that? Why would we want to take ourselves out of the equation? And there's a wonderful documentary out now called Cowspiracy, where the guy who does it finds out that animal husbandry, animal agriculture, causes 65% of the greenhouse gas. Transportation of all kinds, planes, trains, everything, cars, 13%. So 65% of the greenhouse gas is caused by growing animals for food. And, it's crazy what we're doing. We're destroying this place by the same way we destroy our own health. We can stop doing this, and it's imperative that we stop, both for the planet and for ourselves. And it's so easy to stop doing this. If you can just quit the meat, dairy, eggs, fish, wheat, and soy, you can transform your health. You can change everything. You can get rid of every little niggling health concern you have, any kind of arthritis in your knees. I've seen it happen. Cancer can be cured this way. It's amazing. There's nothing we can't do with these bodies. These bodies are like lumps of clay we've been given. We can make anything we want out of them. Something hideous or something beautiful or anything in between. It's up to you. It's all free will. But most people don't have a lot of free will because they have addiction. They're addicted to certain substances. Unfortunate, of course, but addiction can be broken very easily. All you have to do is not feed it. Stop feeding the addiction, you won't have the addiction. There may be a time when you fall off the wagon, when you eat a bunch of stuff, no problem. Just fall back on the wagon. Stop eating this stuff. Part of everybody's dietary evolution in the beginning is to fall on and off, is to just blow it sometimes, just succumb to the temptation. It's okay, no problem. Just start eating the good stuff again. And I've found the more of the good stuff you reach for, the less of the bad stuff you want. So if you have a craving, have the salad instead, have a piece of fruit, have something good, and you feel better. You lose that addiction. You stop having that craving. If you keep feeding it though, you'll keep having the addiction. The addiction will hold sway in your life. So free will is the operating principle here, but of course we've given up our free will. We've succumbed to this advertising that tells us we can open happiness by opening a Coca-Cola or whatever else it is. So it's so easy. It really is. People have an idea that it's hard. And if you think it's hard, it's hard. If you think it's easy, it will be easy. And if you fall off the wagon, jump back on. No problem. It's so much fun when this starts to happen. If this was a long process, if this were a future event, it wouldn't be fun. It would always be the carrot in front of the donkey. You're never going to quite get there. And we have this idea that we're going to reach something like enlightenment, like God realization, like health, whatever the goal is. If we see that goal in the future, we'll never get there. It's either now or it's not at all. And people ask me a lot of times, well, how long are you trying to live? It's not about living long, even though certainly that's a byproduct of age reversal. It's about the buzz now. It's about feeling good. It's about being able to do whatever I want, to be able to ride over 100 miles on the bicycle without feeling it, without being trashed the next day. To have that kind of energy on tap all the time. And it's not a giddy, burn holes through you type of energy, have to do something, It's not like that at all. It's just there. It's on tap. It's ready to go. It's actually the most calm, peaceful feeling you can imagine, to not have these caustic irritants in your body. The meat and the dairy and all the toxins they contain continually erode away at not only your physical being, but your mental state as well. That's why all deeper spiritual traditions have vegetarianism at their center. If you keep eating these caustic irritants, you're never going to be able to absorb yourself in the bliss, meditate, any of this kind of stuff. It's just virtually impossible. Caustic irritants will always be an irritant. They can mean nothing else. But again, it's so easy not to let this happen. Just to stop eating the stuff. So my book and my teaching is basically about filling in the gaps in people's understanding of just how toxic these substances are. Something like, I was working with a lady the other day and she said, yeah, well, I just love potato chips. I just have to have a potato chip fix every now and then. I know they're empty calories. I said, no, they're not empty calories. Those calories are packing some serious heat. Potato chips, cooked at high temperatures, anything fried, causes runaway glycation in your body. Glycation is the hardening, darkening, thickening of all your tissues. Cataracts are an example of glycation. The lens was opaque, you could see through it, and over time it darkens. So it actually causes blindness when it gets dark enough. This happens throughout your body. What do you think hardening of the arteries is about? These arteries lose their elasticity. Arteries are not just a bunch of pipes that blood flows through. They are living tissue. They're living organs. And when they start to get hard, bad things happen, of course. Hardening of the arteries causes the loss of elasticity, which causes things to stick to them more readily. So another example of this is calcium. Calcium, the wrong kind of calcium, does some really bad things in your body. And dairy calcium is the wrong kind of calcium. Americans consume more dairy than any country in the world per capita, far and away. Yet we have the highest rate of osteoporosis. That calcium in dairy is not well absorbed by your body. And calcium that's not absorbed does some really bad things. One of which is ossification. As those arteries are hardening and losing their elasticity, they're also growing bone in them. It's called ossification. And so while the osteoporosis is happening, you're losing bone mass out of your bones, you're building it up in your arteries. Too much protein causes a lot of problems in our bodies. If I had $1 for everybody who said, where do you get your protein if you're not eating meat? It's like, well, protein is a very big concern. The concern is not to get too much. Just about everybody in America and the industrialized world gets too much protein. Too much protein causes an acid condition in your blood. Your body can't tolerate an acid condition in your blood. It has to maintain that pH in a very narrow range right around neutral. So if you get too much acid in your blood from too much protein, your body will leach calcium, suck calcium out of your bones to put it into your blood to alkalinize your blood. It has to. You'll die if it doesn't. So that's what osteoporosis is about. Osteoporosis is a disease of the industrialized world. Poor people don't get osteoporosis. So what we don't know can hurt us, and does on a daily basis. We have this idea that we can eat a little bit of these things and it's not going to cause a big problem. But it is. It causes a huge problem. All you have to do is get it completely out of your body and you can access the miracles. You can change this whole equation. You can reverse the aging process. You can feel better and better as you age. Most people, by the time they're 60, 65, they can't work anymore. They're not having any fun. Why would you want to do that? Why? It's crazy when you don't have to. We have this idea that that's the way it is. And that is for most people, but it doesn't have to be. A little bit of knowledge goes a long way. All we have to do is reclaim our free will. We do that by not succumbing to these habits anymore. Not going for the comfort food, which makes you decidedly uncomfortable. Just changing our relationship to food and our bodies in general. To relax into the new reality and just let the body tell you what it wants. I talk a little bit in the introduction to my book about my diet. My diet is not what most people will ever evolve into, and I certainly don't advocate it for anybody, but it's an example of what happens when you let the body dictate to you what it wants. And it does wake up. As you start to work with the body, it will wake up and tell you what it wants. And 19 years ago, my body told me it wanted liquid food, only liquid food. I tell the story of how this happened in the introduction to my book. But it's been amazing just having liquid food. And it's an example of how your body wakes up and starts talking to you. And if you listen, miracles happen. It's so much fun when this happens. It's so much fun when you start to feel better and better, clearer and clearer. Meditation and anything other spiritual endeavor you're pursuing becomes so much easier. These caustic irritants are no longer making you irritable. Irritants, irritable. Yeah, makes sense. So the calm and peaceful feeling all the time is part of age reversal. Nobody can get you mad when you feel good. Nobody can get to you. Nothing can take you out of your center when you really have this. And it's incredible. There are no words to describe it. It's so different. And I've been there. I used to be a mad kid. I was an angry young man. I looked at what was going on around me. I looked at the environmental situation. I looked at the way we're overpopulating this world into oblivion, and I was mad. I read a book called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, which every chapter was a different Native American tribe's struggle against the white man, and it was all the same story. It was like the Thanksgiving story all over again and again and again. How the Indian helped the white man, embraced him as a brother, and then the next year there were many, many more white men, and all of a sudden they were losing everything. So I was angry. I thought I was part of the problem. I thought I was a white man who, if you look at who's doing this, it's white men. Anyway, I had that. I had that for years. And I had the angry young man syndrome. I was mad at the world. And when I started really changing my diet and feeling better, I lost all that anger. And I realized I'm not part of the problem. I'm part of the solution. Every one of us that does this gives it to everybody else. You become the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. Be the change you want to see in the world. We can do this. And for every one of us that does this, hundreds of thousands will. This is what's been happening since the 60s. Enough of us have gotten a clue. Enough of us have opened our hearts enough to be broadcasting the new awareness. We're giving it to everybody on the planet just by doing what you're doing. Never think what you're doing is not enough. Another quote is by Gandhi, what you do may seem unimportant, but it's most important that you do it. This is what he's talking about. Every one of us who gets a clue, every one of us who finds a freedom within this illusion, gives it to everybody else. If you want to save the world, save humanity is more like it, this is the way. We can protest, can draw awareness to things like the 1% that happened, the Occupy Wall Street thing. Yeah, it's got to be good, but changing your own consciousness is what's really going to change the world. And what better way to do this than by getting your body to a high level? And, we're not the body, certainly. This is just our vehicle. This is our medium to interact with this plane. But it is important because right now your soul is in your body. The state you take your body to makes all the difference to your spiritual evolution and the way you're able to influence the whole. So it's really fun to feel like you're part of the solution. Not fun to feel like you're stuck in this machine that's destroying the planet as we know it and taking us all out prematurely. So part of the buzz, part of the high of all of this is knowing that you're helping the situation just by doing what you're doing. So I look forward to working with any of you who would like to come to my classes first of the year. Anybody who would like to check out my book, again, the introduction is free to read, neverendingbuzz.com.